questions. Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Canadians were wondering why children in other countries can get access to pain medications, but here in Canada there's a huge shortage. Families are suffering, and parents have to go to the U.S. to buy those medications. And yesterday we learned why. The health minister indicated that this government was aware of the shortage. They knew about this back in April, 7 months ago, but did nothing about it. Why has this government prevented Canadian kids and forced them to suffer for 7 months? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as a minister, but also as a mother, I understand the stress that families and children are going through. And that's why on Monday, my colleague, the health minister, announced that our government had received a guaranteed supply from abroad of additional children's medications. The health of our children is our priority, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Why didn't they do anything for 7 months? We just found out yesterday from the Deputy Minister of Health that the government knew in April that there was a shortage of children's pain medication. And as a result of the government doing nothing, we have parents that have to drive to the States. Sometimes they have to meet in dark parking lots to buy a bottle of aspirin or Tylenol for $200. And their children are up all night screaming. Here's the question. On what date did members of the cabinet become aware that this shortage was in place and that our children were suffering?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as a minister, but also as a mother, I am very aware of the stress and anxiety of parents across Canada and of Canadian children. That's why I was glad that my colleague, the Minister of Health, on Monday announced that Health Canada has secured foreign supply of children's medication, which will be available for sale in the coming weeks. Health Canada has also approved the exceptional importation of infant and children's ibuprofen and acetaminophen. It has been imported and distribution has begun, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Today we learned that the inflation rate was 3 times higher than the Bank of Canada's target. Canadians are paying at times 30% more for certain food, and the price of gas is 10% higher. The price of food in general is 11% higher.
Is to continue with inflationary deficits and taxes, tripling taxes on gas, heat, and groceries. Will they cancel these inflationary taxes and spending so Canadians can afford to eat, heat, and house themselves?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing that has tripled under our government is Canada's AAA credit rating. Now,
inflation in Canada has gone down and has become relatively stable for the past 4 months, and that's good news. But we do understand that Canadians are still struggling, and that is why we have acted responsibly and in a caring fashion fiscally.
So she tells Canadians that they've never had it so good. Wow. She's out of touch and Canadians are out of money. One of the reasons is the rising cost of fuel. Home heating bills are up 77% in Newfoundland and Labrador. Similar increases across the Atlantic, and Northern Ontario will get hit hard because of oil heating. And yet the government wants to triple the carbon tax to punish people further. This after the tax failed to reduce emissions or hit targets to fight climate change. Instead of hitting Canadians with more punishing taxes, why don't they give Canadians relief so they can keep the heat on?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, you know who is broke in Canada today? Anyone who actually listened to the Conservative leader in the spring and followed his advice and invested in crypto. Canadians who did that would have lost at least 65% of their life savings. Many of them would be completely wiped out. It's time for the Conservative leader to take responsibility, to renounce this reckless advice, and to apologize to the Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Vice, this is the minister who advised Canadians that there would be deflation rather than inflation.
Right.
Her government said inflation and interest rates would stay low for decades, so that they should borrow up a storm. And her most recent advice is that Canadians should pay their $6,000 home heating bills by canceling their $13 Disney subscription. That's the advice we're getting from the finance minister. No wonder we have 40-year highs in inflation. Why won't the government reverse its inflationary taxes so that Canadians can afford to live?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader lives in a 19-room government mansion, rent and mortgage-free. This mansion comes with a chef and a driveway where his chauffeur can wait to pick him up.
Order. 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 The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister from the top, please.
From the top. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader lives in a 19-room government mansion, rent and mortgage-free. The mansion comes with a chef and a driveway where his chauffeur can wait to pick him up. Now, all of these privileges are a recognition of the essential role of the official opposition. But with this privilege comes responsibility. And that responsibility
I'm not getting any sound here.
not giving Canadians advice. It's time for the Conservative leader today to apologize for his reckless advice.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, our healthcare system is sick and the money to cure it is in Ottawa. The Minister of Finance has proven this in her economic update on page 20. She shows that within 30 years, the federal government will pay off its debt in full. Meanwhile, Quebec and the provinces will quadruple their deficits within 20 years because of healthcare costs. Quebec is choking while the federal government is even forecasting profits. So now that the minister has proven that she's the one who has the money to invest in health, when is she going to pay the $28 billion we need to care for the people? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this year the health transfer will provide the provinces and territories $45.2 billion worth of support. That's a 4.8% increase. We know our healthcare system is facing significant challenges, and we will continue to work to support and help our healthcare system out. My colleague, the health minister, has been crystal clear. The increased funding must be. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, the federal government is bragging about paying off all its debt while letting Quebec struggle with healthcare costs. Meanwhile, there's the people who are suffering and waiting on waiting lists. They may have cancer, but they don't know because there's no way to even see a doctor. Those who spend the night in the hospital on a stretcher, in a hallway because there aren't enough beds. Isn't the minister sick and tired of the underfunding of health care? That's what the consequences are. Isn't she as disgusted as the rest of us to see this? She has the power to act because she's the one with the money. What's she waiting for? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable colleague that the challenges before the healthcare system in Canada and Quebec are real. We all have to work together to help Canadians and Quebecers. I'd like to point out that this year, Quebec received $10.1 billion for healthcare. That's a 4.8% increase, but we need to keep up the good work, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Burnaby.
All across the country, people are struggling. Everything's more expensive. Putting food on the table is becoming a luxury. While the big grocery stores see their profits keep growing, the Liberals and the Bank of Canada are telling working people it's your turn to tighten your belt. Wages are not going up, and Loblaws is making profits 3 times the inflation rate. It makes no sense. The Liberals are still refusing to tackle corporate greed. Why are the Liberals putting CEOs ahead of struggling families? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, our government undertook to ensure that all Canadians pay their fair share. And that's why we implemented a 2% tax on the purchase of shares by public corporations, and we put in a corporate dividend tax of 15% on banks and insurance companies. And that's why we implemented a luxury tax. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Elmwood Transcona.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The fact remains that when we're seeing Canadians struggling to buy groceries, and we see the very same companies at which they're buying their groceries making profits that are growing at 3 times the rate of inflation, there's something seriously wrong with the economy that requires government intervention. We've seen other jurisdictions implement windfall taxes, not just on financial institutions, but on big box stores and on oil and gas companies that are seeing record profits. And we want to see the same done here in Canada. So when are the Liberals going to stop putting big corporations ahead of the needs of Canadians that are facing dire straits and implement a windfall tax?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is absolutely committed to ensuring that everyone in Canada pays their fair share. That's why we've introduced a luxury tax on yachts, on private jets, and on luxury cars. That's why we've introduced a 2% tax on share buybacks. That's why we've introduced a 15% COVID recovery dividend on the largest banks and insurance companies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
40-year highs in Liberal food inflation is forcing more families into food banks than ever. Yesterday, the PBO said the savings the Liberals are claiming aren't transparent and has the finance minister looking more like Pinocchio. She's out to lunch while Canadians have to skip lunch. Will the finance minister show some compassion and cancel the cruel tripling of taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
First of all, my honourable colleague is absolutely false. There is no tripling of taxes that is coming forward. Mr. Speaker, when they talk about compassion, they should look in the mirror. They've had several opportunities over the past couple of weeks to support families in need, whether it was the Canada Dental Benefit that they voted against, whether it was the Canada Housing Benefit that they voted against, whether it was childcare that they voted against. Mr. Speaker, they have had real opportunities to support Canadians, and at each opportunity, they have not.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Why would anyone take advice from a minister who broke Passports Canada and Service Canada, or an immigration minister who broke immigration, or a housing minister who broke housing, or a transport minister who broke our airports, or a finance minister who broke the banks of Canadians, or a prime minister who broke his promises and broke Canada? Why would anyone believe them? They should apologize for breaking Canada.
Minister for Families.
The member's opposite like to pretend that they support Canadians. But over the past 7 years, we have seen time and time again when there are actual opportunities for them to support hardworking Canadians that they don't. Instead of supporting Canadians through the Canada Child Benefit that puts thousands of dollars into the pockets of lower income families, they voted against it. Instead of supporting the Canada Dental Benefit that is going to help low-income children access dental care, they voted against it. Instead of helping low-income renters with the Canada Housing Benefit, they voted against it. Mr. Speaker, I'm tired of their crocodile tears.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
The Liberal carbon tax is actually punishing Canadians. Has the Prime Minister spoken to anyone paying $3 a litre to fill their truck with diesel? Anyone out east who could pay $6,000 to heat their home this winter? What about a single one of the 1.5 million Canadians who used a food bank in a single month? Of course not. It's private jets, limousines, $6,000 hotel rooms, $12,000 grocery bills for them. When will these Liberals join us in the real world, listen to struggling Canadians, and stop their plan to triple the carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, if we want to level with Canadians, we just have to point to the heat dome 2 summers ago in Alberta, or the atmospheric river that fell on British Columbia, or Hurricane Fiona, the worst natural disaster in this country's history. Mr. Speaker, the best market mechanism to combat the existential threat of climate change is a price on pollution. The Conservatives don't like it. It's the responsible thing to do, and that's why we're doing it, to support Canadians and to support the planet.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
It's bad enough that this government hasn't hit a single environmental target it's ever set. The Parliamentary Budget Officer, the Prime Minister himself chose, says that Canadians from Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, they pay more in carbon tax than they get back. So he can tell his minister that cutting the Disney Plus subscription will buy him a whole 5 litres of diesel. It might heat his home for a whole few hours this whole winter. So I'll ask again, when will they join everyone in the real world, tell the truth, listen to struggling Canadians, and scrap their plan to triple the carbon tax?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the other day I listened to the MP for Mission Matsqui Fraser Canyon, who spoke so eloquently about his community, especially the community of Lytton, BC, Mr. Speaker, because we all know that Lytton burned to the ground. The temperatures reached 50 degrees C in the worst environmental disaster, the worst climate catastrophe in our history, Mr. Speaker. Yet the words climate change never come out of the honourable members' lips. Mr. Speaker, they should stop the triple shtick and do something positive about climate change.
Before we go to the next question, I just want to remind the honourable members, especially certain members with deep voices that carry wonderfully. Unfortunately, someone is trying to answer a question, and usually it's from the party that is out there. And I'm sure that the individuals who do shout out or speak loudly don't want to be named, because that would be embarrassing to them, their families, and their ridings.
The honourable member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, in a survey of members of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, 94% of Quebec and Canadian companies say rising prices are due to transportation and fuel costs. 80% of businesses say government fees and charges are significant drivers of price increases. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? The members of the CFIB, their top recommendation to the Prime Minister is to freeze the carbon tax. The CFIB says so, and so do we. Will the Prime Minister commit to not raising the carbon tax? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I appreciate the question, because what business is telling us, especially the CFIB, is that we need to support our SMEs. And what we announced in the economic statement was we want to manage the credit card system to support small and medium-sized businesses, reduce fees from the big banks, And if the situation can't be resolved through negotiation, we will use legislation. That's the support we're giving small and medium-sized business in Canada. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the members of the CFIB have called for this. And don't forget, 64% of these businesses have an average debt of almost $150,000. 78% are experiencing persistent stress, and worse, nearly 1 in 5 is considering permanent closure. SMEs are the heart of our economy, and they're clearly asking the Prime Minister not to increase CPP and EI premiums and other federal taxes. The Prime Minister says he listens to Quebec entrepreneurs. Will he listen to them now? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Small and medium-sized businesses have frequently spoken to us, and in the fall economic statement, we also referred to this situation. What we've said is we're going to support SMEs, and what we're going to do is use.
We will also ensure that there are new sustainable jobs under the Union Training and Innovation Program. The last part is critical to enterprises. What we're doing is ensuring, by getting tough with tax, with share buybacks, that people are supporting their employees and not their board of directors. Merci.
The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, remember Michael Rousseau, the CEO of Air Canada, who was proud to have spent his entire life in Montreal without speaking French? Well, Bill C-13 allows him to keep it up. C-13 gives companies like Air Canada a choice. They can either comply with the Charter of the French language or keep on flouting it. Big surprise. Air Canada has announced they're opting out thanks to C-13. Why do the Liberals and the NDP want to guarantee all the Michael Rousseaus of the world that they will never have to learn a single word of French to work in Quebec? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, it's very disappointing that the Bloc and the Conservatives are continuing to circulate false information about C-13. Let's be clear, C-13 will provide for companies like Air Canada to show leadership when it comes to protecting and promoting French and allowing their employees to work and customers to be served in French all across Canada. I hope the Conservatives in the Bloc will listen to stakeholders and start working with us to promote and protect French all across Canada, including in Quebec. The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, Quebec gave federally regulated companies until December 1st to comply with the new Bill 101. Air Canada hasn't done so, obviously. Neither has CN, Via Rail, or many others. They're waiting for C-13 to pass so they can walk away. The Liberals and the NDP are imposing a gag order on C-13 to end debate, get this, on December 1st. What a coincidence. Michael Rousseau is going to buy himself a lottery ticket. Seriously, why are the Liberals and the NDP scheming to help these companies continue to anglicize Quebec? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Official Languages. Mr. Speaker, once again, it's disappointing. I'm sure the Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île wants to hear the answer, so I'll ask the Parliamentary Secretary to start over from the top, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, it's disappointing that the Conservatives and the Bloc are circulating false information about C-13. Both of them are hindering the passage of this bill at the Official Languages Committee. They want to prevent this bill from coming back to the House of Commons. They have to stop playing political games. And we need to focus on protecting and promoting French all across Canada, including in Quebec. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the government is refusing to answer a very simple question. Who are the 11 election candidates who in the 2019 election received hundreds of thousands of dollars funneled by Beijing through its Toronto consulate? Yesterday, the Prime Minister talked to President Xi about these 11 candidates, but the government and the Prime Minister has yet to tell this House who these 11 candidates are. What are they hiding?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And any kind of foreign interference is a threat to our democracy. We must stand together. It's a threat to every single member of this House, and I implore the members on the other side to stand together with all members of this House to fight foreign interference, which only goal is to sow chaos and destroy our democracy, and we will never tolerate it, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, we have been asking for years for a plan from this government to combat Beijing's meddling in our democracy, but they have failed to act. And now we have a situation where candidates are receiving illicit funds from Beijing funneled through its Toronto consulate. Canadians deserve answers. Who are these candidates? Are they members of this House? Are they going to be candidates in the next federal election? Again, Mr. Speaker, who are these 11 election candidates?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I will suggest that we need to step back and remember what is motivating foreign interference. Foreign interference is designed to sow chaos and to destroy every fabric of our democracy, Mr. Speaker. We are taking action.
I'm sure the honourable member for Wellington Halton Hills wants to hear the answer. Please. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, may start right from the top so we can hear the whole answer at once.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm disappointed that the honourable members don't want to hear the answer to that question. Foreign interference is something that is an attack on every single member of this House. It is an attack on our very fabric of our democracy. We must stand together. We must stand as one against any kind of foreign interference. Our national security agencies continue to monitor and react to threats from foreign bad actors. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect us to work together on this and to stand united against foreign interference. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, I'm disappointed that the government refuses to reveal the names of the 11 candidates who were funded by the Beijing communist regime. The idea is that they should be transparent and open with Canadians and tell the truth. The Prime Minister was told in January who the 11 candidates were who were funded by Beijing's communist regime. Why is he protecting the names of those candidates, Mr. Speaker? What is the Prime Minister trying to hide? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. I have a lot of respect for him, but on issues like this, Mr. Speaker, we need to stick to the facts. I think it's dangerous to politicize an issue like this one, Mr. Speaker. We're talking about democracy, about foreign interference. I would invite my colleagues on the other side of the House not to play political games. These are very important issues to all Canadians who are listening today, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, transparency is not a game. We were informed that in 2019 there was a network of clandestine candidates funded by the communist regime in China. The Prime Minister did nothing. And in 2021, they started it all over again, influencing the elections again, Mr. Speaker. And the result? Nobody's been prosecuted. Nobody's been convicted. And we need to send a message that we will never tolerate any interference in any foreign interference in our elections. What are the Liberals trying to hide, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we fully agree that on an issue like this, transparency is important. But, Mr. Speaker, I should tell my colleague that on both sides of the House, we will never accept foreign interference in our democracy. Everyone here agrees on that. We are going to take action accordingly, and I would invite all members of the House not to play political games with such a fundamental issue as Canadian democracy.
Center.
Mr. Speaker, provincial healthcare systems across the country are collapsing. Pediatric rooms are being overwhelmed, and wait times are more than 12 hours. In Hamilton, McMaster Children's Hospital is currently at 140% capacity, and there's a shortage of cribs and infusion pumps. A shortage of cribs. Children are suffering, parents are terrified, so will this government take immediate action now so that children get the emergency medical care they so desperately need?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we share the deep concerns of my colleague and parents across this country. These wait times are inexcusable. The shortage of drugs is unacceptable, and we must do more, particularly for kids and children in our ridings. But right now, it's a really, really bad flu season. Right now, parents are going through this because cold and flu is just rearing its ugly head. And as we see an increase in these types of illnesses, we should all be protecting ourselves and those around us. So I encourage everybody to make sure they're up to date on vaccines and do everything they can. If you don't feel good, stay home. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, people are worried about the climate crisis, especially since Canada just received embarrassingly low marks for climate action at COP27, scoring 58th out of 63 countries. Only Russia, South Korea, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, and Iran ranked lower. While people are losing their jobs, homes, and lives during heat waves, flooding, and forest fires, the Liberals just keep handing out subsidies to big oil, breaking climate target after climate target. When will the Liberals own up to their climate failure and stop giving away billions to big oil and gas?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the report that the honourable member mentions did not take into account some of our most recent action, but we agree with the general conclusion that we have to do more, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we're investing $9.1 billion in our emissions reduction plan, Mr. Speaker. We have an ambitious plan to get to 40 to 45% reduction in emissions by 2030. And, Mr. Speaker, we are cutting methane emissions. We're eliminating fossil fuel subsidies, and we are capping emissions on oil and gas, Mr. Speaker, and we are investing heavily in the clean economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Surrey Centre.
Mr. Speaker, we know that building more affordable housing must continue to be a priority, especially now as we see so many struggling to find the housing they need. I see how great the need is in my riding of Surrey Centre, and the same is true in so many parts of this country. Can the Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion please tell this House about the government's plan to build more affordable housing for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for his question and his strong advocacy on this really important issue.
That's right.
Our government continues to recognize that making sure that we have access to safe and affordable housing remains a priority.
Good idea.
Just this week, I announced $78 million in an investment in Ottawa to create 271 new rental units. This will prioritize women and children, Indigenous people and families to access safe and affordable housing. And it is through federal lands, surplus federal lands provided through the Federal Lands Initiative. This is the National Housing Strategy at work, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, this winter is likely to be as cold and punishing and as long as the last winter, and this is very bad news for Canadian families because we've heard that gas home heating costs are expected to increase 100%, and 6 out of 10 Canadian families heat their homes with natural gas. So that means there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more on home heating bills this winter for Canadian families. And it's only going to be made worse by the Liberals, who are going to triple the carbon tax. So why are they so insistent on punishing Canadians for heating their homes, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment.
Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague from Winnipeg and remind her that the parliamentary budget officer has weighed in many times. 8 out of 10 families will be better off. And the other thing the parliamentary budget officer says, Mr. Speaker, is that the tab for climate destruction in this country is $20 billion a year. You've heard me talk about Lytton. You've heard me talk about the floods in Manitoba. Mr. Speaker, we can't afford these climate disasters. The Conservatives are doing absolutely nothing about it.
Again, I want to remind the honourable members, I'm sure they don't want to be named, and especially like on my left ear, I don't know what it is, but I can hear the voices very strongly. And again, I don't want to have to look over and name the riding that they're from and embarrass them, their family, their ridings, and anyone who knows them. The honourable member for Kiltonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals have spent over $100 billion on climate change, and their carbon tax has increased the cost of food, home heating, and gas. And things are getting worse than ever before. Inflation's at a 40-year high, and now we're finding out that Canada, with all this spending and all these taxes, we're ranked 58th out of 63 countries in the world for the Climate Change Performance Index by COP27. We're the bottom of the barrel on climate change, Mr. Speaker. They don't have a climate change plan. They have a tax plan. So when will they axe the carbon tax so that Canadian families can afford to live?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Speaker, I find it revealing that the preamble to the honourable member's question, she seemed to criticize us for making serious investments in climate change. It should come as no surprise, though, that they oppose our measure, because she knows very well that the policy we've advanced actually puts more money in the pockets of Canadian households. I'm not surprised that they're opposing it, because at every instance, they have opposed measures since 2015 that actually leave ordinary families better off. When we raise taxes on the wealthiest to give a tax break to the middle class, they voted against it. When we stopped sending child care checks to millionaires to put more money in the pockets of 9 out of 10 Canadian families, they voted against it. And now when we're charging people for pollution and giving that money directly to families, they oppose it too.
The honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister broke his promise to Canadians. In 2017, he launched his national housing strategy, calling it, among other things, a life-changing plan to get Canadians into homes and to keep them there. The minister even recently gave housing bureaucrats $48 million in bonuses for a job well done. But we all know, Mr. Speaker, the housing crisis has gotten worse and worse and worse under this government. So, will the minister please explain to this House and to Canadians why he gave $48 million of bonuses to bureaucrats for a job not done?
Wow. The Honourable Minister for Housing.
Yet another example of playing ignorance when they know better, that we don't determine the compensation rates for an independent Crown corporation. But what I will speak to, if the member has the courage to talk to his leader, to stop being the biggest gatekeeper to supports for housing for Canadians. When we introduced legislation to deliver much needed rental supports to Canadians, what did that side do? They opposed it. When we presented plans to invest in rapid housing solutions for the most vulnerable, they opposed it. That is their record, Mr. Speaker, and they can't get away from it.
Honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Auditor General laid the facts bare for all Canadians. Never, ever has a government spent so much to deliver so little. That's right. Canadians see the results. They see the tent cities growing all across this country. So can the minister please explain to this House and to every single Canadian that cannot find a home right now why you would give $48 million in bonuses to federal housing gatekeepers while more and more Canadians get left out in the cold?
The Honourable Minister.
The Honourable Member took that same level of advocacy to his leader, who has been the biggest gatekeeper in this House against supports for Canadian first-time home buyers, against supports for rapid housing initiatives in communities facing homelessness, against supports for 64 different community entities to reduce and prevent homelessness.
The Honourable Minister, maybe from the top so I can hear the whole thing this time. It's at a distance over there. I'm having a hard time.
To live up to their record, and when someone actually states their true record in this side of the House, they have a problem listening to it. But those are the facts. Whether it is first-time home buyers saving up to $40,000 in a tax-free savings account, they voted against it. When it is providing more supports to communities facing homelessness through the pandemic by preventing 62,000 people from entering homelessness and providing permanent solutions to 32,000 Canadians experiencing homelessness, they voted against it. The Rapid Housing Initiative has delivered 10,250 deeply affordable homes. They voted against that.
The Honourable Member for Avignon Métis Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, in the midst of COP27, the big winners have been announced. Unfortunately, I'm talking about the winners of the scramble for offshore oil exploration licenses off of Newfoundland. And the winners are ExxonMobil, BP, Equinor, and Qatar's state-owned company QPI. Encouraged by the federal abolition of environmental assessments, they have promised to invest no less than $238 million to find oil. The fact that they are funneling in $238 million, needless to say, they're counting on finding oil. So how many more Bay du Nords will the government allow them? The Honourable Minister.
Parliamentary Secretary.
I would like to clarify the tendering process does not allow production in the offshore sector. I would like to state that all targeted requests will be subject to the Environmental Assessment Act and will be part of our environment plan, including it is part of our commitments, including net zero emissions by 2050. The Honourable Member for Avignon Métis-Metapedia. Mr. Speaker, at the same time, Canada is reiterating its invitation to Montreal for the COP15 on biodiversity. But 3 weeks before the event, no head of state has confirmed his or her presence. Of course, all countries can see that Canada is approving oil exploration drilling in a marine protected area. Canada does not even allow fishing there to protect biodiversity, but it does allow the seabed to be broken up to find oil. Is it perhaps the reason for which not many people want to turn up to COP15? Because perhaps regarding the fight against climate change, they find that Canada has absolutely zero credibility when it comes to biodiversity. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. We are very proud of our work towards biodiversity. We are proud to be here for COP15 in Montreal. But allow me to be clear. The Northeast Newfoundland Marine Protected Zone will continue to be a protected zone under current conditions, and we will examine all exploration activities on a case-by-case basis. As I said, the tendering process does not allow for extraction or development to happen in this area, and all production that is proposed needs to be subject to the Environmental Assessment Act.
For Edmonton Riverbend.
Mr. Speaker, grocery prices continue to soar and gas prices are hitting a record high. That means parents can't afford to pay their bills, feed their kids, and they're terrified where the next paycheck will come from. The Liberals' answer to this, Mr. Speaker? Just cancel your $13 a month Disney Plus subscription. That's how out of touch this Prime Minister truly is, Mr. Speaker. So instead, will this Prime Minister stop his inflationary spending and stop raising taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, we know that Canadians are going through a tough time. We are all in a global inflationary cycle, and we're not going to take any lessons from a member opposite whose leader advised Canadians to invest in crypto as a hedge against inflation. Totally irresponsible, totally reckless. It would have ruined people's savings. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, the compassionate approach is to double the GST credit, to permanently eliminate interest on student loans, to make sure that $500 top-ups go to people who need it for housing, cutting childcare fees in half, and providing dental care to 500,000 kids. That's the compassionate, responsible thing to do, Mr. Speaker. It's what we're doing.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Riverbend.
Mr. Speaker, even future Liberal leader Mark Carney has confirmed that inflation is homegrown. Why won't this minister? Inflation has reached the highest rate in 4 decades. And now, Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklin has stated, and I quote, "Increasingly, the inflation we're seeing in Canada reflects what's going on in Canada. Canadians cannot continue to afford this NDP and Liberal coalition. So again, will this Prime Minister stop his inflationary spending and stop raising taxes?"
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, moms in Riverbend who received the CERB did not cause inflation. Neither did businesses that received supports during the pandemic cause inflation. If our investments in Canadians had caused inflation, Mr. Speaker, we would be the only country in the world with inflation. Germany, the EU, UK, Australia, the United States, all with higher inflation. Mr. Speaker, what are we doing on this side? Investing and supporting Canadians who need the support when they need it the most. They don't like it, Canadians do. That's why we are doing what we're doing.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, today we've learned that the Liberal inflation is caused by Liberals, and it's making Canadians poorer who have to choose between feeding themselves, finding a house, or travelling. This Liberal crisis is hurting everyone. Some people are skipping meals, people go to food banks, students have to go to shelters, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals are still taking money from Canadians to pay what? For their own wastage. Because, will they finally stop increasing taxes, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister.
Because the Conservatives repeat something 3 times does not make it true. Mr. Speaker, let's focus on the facts. When it comes to supporting Canadians, on this side of the House, we have been there, and the Conservatives have voted against supporting Canadians every step of the way. When it comes to inflation, Mr. Speaker, Canada is lower than the United States. We're lower than the European Union. We're lower than many other countries in the world. That doesn't mean it's not an easy time for Canadians right now, but we are there to support them. We're continuing to do that, and we just hope the Conservatives would join us if they truly cared about Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Monsieur le Président, the nombre... Mr. Speaker, many Canadians, particularly working people, families and the most vulnerable, are finding it increasingly difficult to find housing in many urban centres across Canada. Ottawa is not immune to this trend. Can the President of the Treasury Board inform the House what our government is doing to ensure that Canadians have housing? The Honourable President of the Treasury Board. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague for his diligent work and his important question. Last Monday, good news in Ottawa-Vanier, in the National Capital Region, we've announced the building of 271 new affordable rental units here in Ottawa. What great news, Mr. Speaker. We are investing in order to help women, the youth, and Indigenous peoples so that they can have a safe roof over their heads in our region. Thank you.
Cumberland, Peterborough South.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the first snowfall arrived in my riding, and the children were out playing, making snowmen, throwing snowballs. But the snow unfortunately served as a harsh reminder of the difficult winter to come and the challenges they'll face as parents decide whether they pay for home heating or they pay for groceries. Will these Liberals finally show some compassion and cut their planned tax hikes on gas, groceries, and home heating?
Hear, hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Tourism. Mr. Speaker, on no less than 5 occasions has this Liberal government reduced taxes on Canadians, and every single time, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives had voted against. What did they vote against? The Canada Child Benefit, cutting taxes on the middle class, reducing taxes on small businesses, reducing taxes on workers, voting against the $15 minimum wage. And Mr. Speaker, when they had a chance to support 500,000 kids to get dental care for the first time in their lives, which they receive on the other side of this House, what did they do? They voted against.
No.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Mr. Speaker, winter is here, and Canadians will be paying thousands more dollars to heat their home because of the inflationary Liberal carbon tax. They'll be paying more for everything because of the out-of-control spending of this greedy NDP Liberal costly coalition. Canadians need help now. So will the Liberals end their inflationary spending and cancel their plans to triple taxes on gas, groceries, and home heating?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
In the globe today, there are a couple of things that are happening across the world that I think we have to be very mindful of. The existential crisis of climate change and the reality of inflation. Inflation, I think, is something that is making it very difficult for people across the world to pay their bills. Canada is below not only the EU, but the G7, with one of the lowest inflation rates that exists in the world. That is not good enough. That doesn't exactly. The members are opposite. It's cold comfort. And what they expect is solutions, not raising anxiety, not raising fears, not pretending that issues that exist don't exist, Mr. Speaker. Climate change is real. Inflation is real. It demands maturity and real answers, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Coast of Bay Central, Notre Dame.
Mr. Speaker, Thelma and Everett from Twillingate spent $5,500 in home heating fuel last winter. They wrote me, we are in our 60s, still working, with no pension. We can't afford that kind of bill. Since last winter, the price of home heating fuel has increased by 77.3% in Newfoundland and Labrador. And with the addition of carbon tax to that, the grand total, 97.3%. Will the Prime Minister have mercy on Thelma and Everett and many like them and cancel his plan to triple the carbon tax on gas, groceries?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
I have no doubt that the member's constituent, the person that they're referring to, is facing a great deal of anxiety. They would want to know, as an example, that the money that they're paying for a price on pollution, they actually get back. And of course, the member opposite knows that. But they would also want to hear that they have a government that would care about, if they have their grandchildren, the type of world that they're inheriting. The type of costs that were involved with climate change are trillions upon trillions of dollars. You want to talk about a legacy that they're giving to their grandchildren, ignoring the climate crisis, pretending it isn't real, pretending that facts aren't facts, lying to them, frankly, Mr. Speaker, about the reality of that circumstance.
I don't know if it was parliamentary. I had a hard time hearing it. The Honourable Member for Brampton South.
We know that the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system is now up and running from across the country. Families in my province of Ontario are already seeing the benefits of the significant investments that Canada and the province are making. Can the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development update this House on the progress that Ontario have reached as this national system continues to build out?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleague from Brampton South, who's been a tireless advocate for universal childcare in this country. I'm really pleased to report to this House that Ontario has had 92% of licensed childcare providers sign on. That means families are receiving rebates of up to 25% dating back to April 1st, and as of December 31st will receive a 50% reduction in fees. I spoke to one mother who said she specifically went back to work because she can now afford it because of these childcare fees. Mr. Speaker, childcare is a home run. It's a win for our children, it's a win for our families, and it's a win for our economy.
For Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to be able to trust that their government won't manipulate RCMP investigations into serious crimes. But lately, they haven't been so sure. People want more accountability from this government. And yesterday, the RCMP Commissioner agreed. That sounds like a clear endorsement of my bill to ensure transparency between the RCMP and the government. So, will the Prime Minister and Minister of Public Safety commit to restoring public trust in our institutions by supporting my proposal?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The independence of our law enforcement is vital to our democracy, and I thank my colleague for his important advocacy and work on this issue and all issues related to public safety. Good government is essential for good policing. We will review his bill, and I look forward to continuing to work with him and all members of this House on the continued independence of the RCMP. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, Isabella and many parents from my riding are worried about the proliferation of illegal cannabis shops in our community that specifically target children. They're selling copycat pot edibles that doctors say look like candy but are poisoning kids. Also, I recently met with the Cannabis Council of Canada. They feel that a lack of enforcement on the many regulatory rules that legitimate businesses must follow allow black market operators to flourish. Mr. Speaker, the millions gained from illegal cannabis selling is known to be used to buy firearms and fund organized crime. What is the government doing to stop these illegal pot shops?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member opposite for raising this important issue. The health and safety of our children is the absolute fundamental, most important thing for this government. The Cannabis Act is there to protect the health and safety of Canadians while serving as a flexible legislative framework that adapts and responds to the ongoing emerging needs of Canadians to help displace that illegal and illicit market. I'll have a look at what the member opposite raised, and I thank him again for his advocacy.
Afraid that's all the time we have for today's question. Please, c'est tout le temps que nous avons. It being 3:15 p.m., pursuant to order made on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, the House will now proceed to the taking of deferred recorded division on